Hey guys, Poster, welcome back to another Pokemon Master review, and folks have been asking me to do this video, just, now that we know generally what all these new sync pairs are, what they do, and sort of just compare these four banners and, talk about which ones are more worth summoning in comparison. So, for those of you who don't know what these do yet, check out the videos I did yesterday. I did a detailed breakdown of each one of them on my channel, and also, you could subscribe and turn notifications on for more of these coming in the future. Hopefully, Lance is coming out soon, so I'll do a I'll do a summon on that, right? So, anyways, let's go over these. So. For those of you who don't know, four banners coming out soon: Lance and Dragonite, Cynthia and Garchomp, Ethan and Typhlosion, Leaf and Eevee. Lance and Dragonite's coming out on the 26th. Cynthia and Garchomp is coming out on New Year's Day, January the 1st, for those of you who don't know when New Year's Day is. And then Ethan and Typhlosion is on January the 15th, I believe, and then Leaf and Eevee is on January the 22nd. Between Cynthia and Garchomp, there's like this other banner, which is just a bunch of the old units. It's like Blue, Hilda. It's not really important. Don't summon on that one. It's not really great. So, anyways, well, at least from what it seems, we don't have any details on that banner, but it seems like it's not anything important. So, anyways, let's go over these then. So first, let's talk about a Lance and Dragonite. So Lance and Dragonite, it's a Dragon type. It's a rare Dragon type striker. We only have two other Dragon type strikers in the game, being Iris and Haxorus, and Claire and Kingdra, both of them which are not insane. So Dragonite, if you first look at it, really solid stats, top 5 in both attack and special attack, really great, and it has both physical attack and special attack moves. Dragon Claw, this is the move you'll be probably using the most in co-op. Hybrid Beam is just trash in co-op, unfortunately. With the new co-op changes, move gauges, moves that cost 3 or more move gauges, and Hybrid Beam is like the only move in the game that costs 4 move gauges, as far as I know, right? It's just not really usable, and also it has a 10% miss chance. So like if you actually take the time to build up 4 move gauge, just for it to miss on a 10% chance, it's basically GG. Like you're probably very likely gonna lose that match if you miss one. So that's very unfortunate. And then even more so, again, it has really solid stats. Its moves are just really bad. It's a rare striker that is completely unsustainable. Like, its only other moves is Potion and Now or Never, which increases the user's move gauge by 6, and the user takes a damage equal to half its remaining HP. This is really bad. Like, it's a recoil, and it's not even like recoil for something good. Like, it's not like Flare Blitz or whatever, Wild Charge. It's like, if it was like, okay, increase your attack by 3 or special attack by 3 or like 6 if we're really pushing it, and like crit plus 2, then like take half of your HP. Okay, that's fine. That's a fair trade. 6 move gauge, no, not a fair trade. That's not that great. I mean, I guess you could use it when you're almost dead anyways, and then you just use it and then go for like a last second Hybrid Beam before you die. But like, other than that, I really don't see much use in this move, unfortunately. It's just really bad. So overall, basically, in short, Dragonite is really terrible for co-op. It might be one of the worst, not worst, one of the worst units to use, or strikers to use in co-op. It's just extremely inconsistent. It's really slow, right? And again, I already did a video on why, higher move gauge cost moves are actually really bad in the meta right now. You go check that out on my channel. It goes into much detail on why, but in short, for those of you who don't want to, go into detail of why that's the case, it's basically, it's just not that good. Just keep that in mind. So, in terms of its other moves, it does have Dragon Shift. So even though Hybrid Beam is normal type, it's going to be Dragon type. So it's actually really good in single player when you actually have supports for it. Meaning like you have stuff like a Medicham to make sure your Hybrid Beam doesn't freaking miss, if you ever want to use that. And also a Rosanta with Delibird, which increases both speed and move gauge, so your Hybrid Beam will recover much quicker. So if you're in single player, you will absolutely destroy stuff with Hybrid Beam. If you have the right supports, you will obliterate people with Hybrid Beam. It's not even funny, right? But again, you do need supports, which is really hard to find in single player, or not single player, in co-op, right? So it's a really good single player or solo mode sync pair, but just very mediocre, borderline bad for co-op, unfortunately, if you don't have a really competent team. If you're just going in with randos and you're bringing a Dragonite, then what the hell are you doing? Although, do keep in mind that there is going to be a new EX Claire with Kingdra, which will be weak to Dragon, so it could potentially be useful in there. So it might be the only co-op stage it might be useful in, and there's also a new Claire story mode stage as well, co-op. So there's that as well. But basically, it's really good for single player mode. It's really bad for co-op. But on the other hand, do keep in mind that single player mode, like, there's so many really fantastic units that aren't like even like 4-star, 3-star units. Like, there are so many like really good units that could just clear like almost every stage in the game anyways. You know, stuff like Noland, right? Other 5-stars, like basically all the 5-stars, right? They could basically just clear any mode in the game as long as they have good supports, right? So, like, being good in single player is not that big of an accomplishment, unfortunately. Like, it might be overkill for like single player at the moment. Do keep in mind Battle Villa is coming out soon as well, so there's that. It might be more useful in that, hopefully. And we'll have to see what that does to Dragonite. But at the moment, it's just not that great, unfortunately. Like, you could just use free to play sync pairs, and you could basically clear almost every single player mode, like, map in the game. Like, I don't know why I said map, just stages, I guess, battles. Stuff like Noland, Hau, right? They'll just like obliterate all the single player content in the game. So it's not really that useful. But it is a rare, Dragon Striker that you don't really have in the game that have any good ones, I guess. So moving on, Cynthia and Garchomp. Cynthia and Garchomp is slightly better. It's ground type, so that's a huge advantage because all the ground types in this game are pretty bad. You got Mudstale and Palatoad, both of them are pretty mediocre. So the Garchomp goes into Mega Garchomp, which is really cool, I guess. But then again, considering how hard it is to Mega in this game, if you're playing co-op, it's also kind of unfortunate. But I personally think it's slightly easier to Mega and co-op now in comparison to how it was before, but still not too great, unfortunately. But for Cynthia, her big move is Earthquake, which is an AoE move, which is actually really bad in co-op. AoE moves are extremely bad in co-op. Not only does it not do too much damage to begin with, just because all the damage is split and stuff, it also screws with the AI a lot. So especially if you're farming stuff like maybe like the Solgaleo EX, not EX, the Solgaleo co-op mode. If you're just farming it on auto and then your teammates are on auto as well, this screws with the target priority system that the AI has, and it could really sometimes screw up your team. And also, again, it's also a 3-cost move, which again, 3-cost moves are just not as good in the game anymore, which is unfortunate for Cynthia, right? So it's just an all around unfortunate situation. But Cynthia really is really good in single player again. So there's that. Also, it does have self-sustainability. You have X attack, which raises attack, and then also Match is Too Fun, which raises speed and crit, but also doubles when it's in a sandstorm, right? And also has Surging Sand 5, which powers up moves in Sandstorm. So if you have Acerola set up in a single player mode with some other support, Garchomp can be very powerful, but it's really hard to coordinate when you're playing with randos and in co-op stages. So again, that's another issue for Cynthia and Garchomp. But overall, a really decent unit, but very limited and restricted. So moving on to another really decent, nice unit. So we got Ethan and Typhlosion. Ethan and Cyndaquil, it evolves into Typhlosion, obviously. So it has really mediocre stats, but it makes up for that with a really high base power eruption, which is 135, right? Also 3 gauge, also AoE. So suffers kind of the same fate with Garchomp, and this thing just kills everything in single player mode just because of how aggro works. So you'll almost always have this 135 power up. It's really hard for you to get hit just because Typhlosion is not bulky, and and in single player, your opponent only targets bulky Pokemon slash sync pairs, right? So you're almost never gonna get targeted unless you get hit by AOE, which then you could, restore some HP with Stoke the Fire, and also raises your speed and evasiveness, which is good for recovering move gauge here, and also good so that you don't get hit. So your eruption wall is really, really strong. And also you have X special attack as well to help with that. Also you have Speeding Sun, which charges the move gauge faster in sunny weather, which also helps with the move gauge scenario. So it's not as bad as, say, some other sync pairs are in co-op. It's actually not terrible in co-op, so there's that. So that helps a lot. I guess it's not bad, as, say, both Lance and Cynthia are in co-op. So there's that going for Ethan, I guess. It is fire type. We have a few fire types in the game already, so the typing doesn't really work too well for it, but it is a special, striker fire type, which we don't really have as much in the game. We have some decent fire strikers in Hilda and Inferno, but both of them are physical. So here's a first, special fire striker. So, if you need a special fire striker, you could pick up Ethan and Typhlosion as well. Moving on to Eevee, before I even go into this, I'm just going to say right here, Eevee's the best banner to summon on of all these four. Just because, first of all, Eevee is incredibly powerful, and also, Eevee's banners has all the other three. It has Lance, it has Cynthia, it has Ethan, right? Albeit at a really, really low rate. They're all unfeatured on Leaf's banner, but they're there, so there's a slight chance you could get them, I guess, if you really want them as well. So, Leaf is probably one of the best units in the game. It's definitely I don't know if I want to say definitely the best support, but it's extremely powerful as a support in the game as well, right? It's 5-star normal, weak to fighting, yada yada. It has insane bulk, right? So it can take hits. It can tank sync moves like they're a joke, right? So that's very, very important just because of how it's built up. So it has potion, tackle moves, damaging moves don't matter. You're just there to, I guess, get unity, right? But aside from that, if you ever use it for unity anyways, so the way you play Eevee is not you start with Eevee and then just wait until you get your sync move or whatever. No, you start with your regular striker, you just keep on hitting your opponent until they're about to sync move, and then you swap Eevee in. You could use Let's Go and whatever, raise your whatever attack, sharply raise your attack, and then 2 move gauges, and then after your opponent's sync moves, use your sync move, so you boost your own attack, defense, special attack, and special defense, and accuracy sharply, and then you also boost your teammates sharply as well, and then also increases move gauge according to your sync move level. So if it's like level 5, then you're getting like 5 move gauges right over there, right? So like if you use both Let's Go's and then use your sync move, that's a plus 9 move gauge. So if that could make Lance and Dragonite potentially work in co-op, right? So that's really helpful. So aside from that, you also have Impervious, which is really, really nice. The reason why Leaf is really good is it has Baton Pass. I don't know why Game Pass doesn't have it on here, but it has Baton Pass. It's not called Baton Pass, but it's basically Baton Pass. So once you swap Eevee out, all her stats that Eevee has is just transferred to your next Pokemon that comes out, right? And Impervious, your stats can't be lowered, so even if you're buffing before your opponent syncs, after they sync, you still keep all those stats, right? So that's really good. So and one other aspect that I don't see people talking about nearly as much as they should is if you have a full team of 3 Eevees, then you just sync move, and then your whole team has +6 on all your stats. +6, and then you just you switch in your whatever Pokemon that you want to switch in, your striker, and then it has +6 defense, special defense, and then attack and special attack. That's absolutely insane, and accuracy as well. So again, that's something else to consider. So in terms of which ones to pull for, Leaf is definitely the priority. You definitely want to pull on Leaf's banner. Ethan and Typhlosion and Cynthia Garchomp, it really depends on what you need, these two. If you really just want if you just want type coverage, if you're having trouble dealing with Solgalio's event, then maybe you'll pull Garchomp. And again, Garchomp might not even be optimal for Solgalio's event just because Garchomp is an AoE damage dealer, and again, AoE not that great in co-op, but it shouldn't be terrible for co-op though. It shouldn't be terrible for Solgalio's event. So there's that, and also Ethan and Typhlosion Ethan and Typhlosion is better in co-op. But again, fire's not the most exciting type, but then it's also special, which we don't have a special fire. I guess Infernum kind of does fire blast, but you know, it's more used physically, right? So there's that as well. So these two really depends on your personal preference, which one you want to go for. And the one that you probably don't want to pull on is Lance's banner, unless again you're a huge Lance or Dragonite fan, then you know by all means go for it. But Lance just has nothing going for him, unfortunately. There just are many better units that you could go for instead. And again, I don't think Lance is straight out bad. It's definitely not great, but you know, it could have been better, unfortunately. So anyways, that's me for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, which banners you guys are pulling on. Like and enjoy this video, subscribe on your channel to get all the other Pokemon Master videos. You can check out my channel for detailed breakdowns of each of these units. And also about the whole meta change thing, which I talked about in an earlier video today. And anyways, again, that's me for this one. I'll see you guys in the next one.